And now, SiliconANGLE TV and Wikibon.org present a Focus Spotlight. Live from Las Vegas at VMworld 2011, host John Furrier and Dave Vellante illuminating storage optimization with support from IBM real-time compression, new storage efficiency for primary active data.
This is Dave Vellante of Wikibon.org. We are live, VMworld 2011, here in Vegas, Sin City, with two of my squeaky clean colleagues, Brian Reagan, Steve Kenniston.
You say that after saying Sin City?
Thanks for coming on. You know, we don't have time to enjoy Vegas.
I know.
We're running around like crazy.
Absolutely right, Dave. All work.
Welcome back. I think this is my 100th time in Vegas this year. I don't know why, but everybody's having shows in Vegas, so we'll take it. VMworld, 19,000 people. Quite an event. We had Rick Jackson on. We're talking off camera. Next year it's moving back to San Francisco, which is definitely a change of pace. But Brian, back at IBM, great to see you as an executive in a cloud role.
Absolutely, Dave. Great.
How's that going?
Great to be back here at Wikibon and SiliconANGLE and theCUBE. Yes, it's 30 days in, learning a lot. Really trying to understand, and the reason we're here at VMware is really trying to understand what this inflection point means. As more mission-critical applications become virtualized, what is that? What are the implications in terms of disaster recovery, business continuity? I was encouraged to hear Paul Moritz talk about how DR is one of the most natural use cases for the cloud, and we couldn't agree more. So that's the business that I'm focused on and running right now.
Well, and Steve, you are a storage efficiency evangelist at IBM, right? So tell me what that means.
So essentially what I go out and do is I talk about how storage efficiency, both for IBM and for the end user, is really affecting them. What are the key technologies? What are the trends? What should they expect to see from IBM? Where's it coming? What are the different products it'll be either embedded in, or how can they acquire it? Where is it going? You know, so Brian and I do some work together about talking about, as we make storage efficient in the cloud, how important is that? How do you sell it? How do you promote it? That sort of thing.
So Brian, I actually think you're in a great spot. So your scope is disaster recovery, archiving as well? Or?
Archiving as well, that's correct.
Okay, you're in really good shape. Here's why. Everybody is talking about how your applications for the cloud are Cloud 1.0. That means it's becoming real, and there's money to be made here.
Right.
We had Siki Junta on, and she's with a competitor, CSC, and she's saying, look, you know, there's a lot of hype out there, but the real stuff is happening, you know, in these day-to-day applications.
Absolutely.
And DR and archiving are right there. So what are you guys seeing in the customer base in terms of adoption, cloud adoption, specifically in those areas?
Well, I would break it down into two main areas. One is in terms of traditional DR, the traditional model of I have applications sitting on infrastructure at my primary location, I need a secondary site. So in case Irene or other natural events occur, or if it's just a natural downtime event which can occur from data integrity problems or human error and the like. We all know the reasons why systems and applications go offline. People are naturally starting to evaluate how the cloud can change the dynamics of that disaster recovery model for the better. Cost will come down naturally. And maybe they'll get more agility out of their infrastructure. Maybe their 24-hour RTO and RPO can come down to 6 hours if the data is persistent in the cloud as opposed to just at a secondary physical site. So that's sort of use case number one. Use case number two, which is related, is very often in the traditional DR model, tape was the media of choice. We would back up our systems, images, back up our data, put them on trucks, ship them to the recovery site, and hope we never had to use them. And very often those tapes would be kept for a very long period of time. Fast forward to the disk-based world of storage, and all of a sudden what we're talking about is an archive use case that first really serves a storage optimization purpose, but ultimately as we start layering in more information management, governance, compliance, search, and discovery capabilities on top of that, that obviously expands and extends the value that we can offer to our clients as they preserve that data for long periods of time.
So I want to drill into the cost a little bit, and then come back to the optimization piece. Cloud is rental, right?
Yes.
And rental is almost always, maybe always, more expensive than owning. Why is cloud less expensive?
Well, I think it comes down to very similar to a traditional managed service model where, yes, the physical, the capital cost is more expensive to rent. But the operating expense for rental, I'm essentially nearly eliminating the operating expense. And as data grows and as the information environment becomes more complex, those OpEx costs go up. So what we're really doing is we're neutralizing or minimizing or almost eliminating the OpEx while perhaps seeing a slight bump in the CapEx.
So if I could translate that, a cloud service provider, which you are, is going to be more efficient at managing infrastructure and be able to pass those savings on to the customer.
Absolutely.
The point I've been making a lot today is every customer we talk to, almost everyone anyway, budgets are flat. We're asked to do more with less. Headcount is down. Does that describe your business?
If
it's going through the roof.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. If our CFO were here, he'd be talking about how we need to continue to take costs out of our environment, which is why efficiency is absolutely vital to our business.
But you're growing, right? Is the point?
Oh yes,
you're investing,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And so the innovation is the cloud service providers are innovating. They're pouring money into that innovation, whereas the traditional IT shops are like, okay, keep it flat, cut it. It's not our business.
Right.
And so. Now that brings me to optimization. Steve, what's the intersection between what we're talking about here in cloud services and optimization? Is it fundamental? Is it a nice to have? Is it a one-time hit? Give us some insight there.
I think Brian nailed it on the head, and you two talking about the economics of it all, right? If I'm going to continue to get hammered on the economics of running my complete infrastructure, and I'm going to sell to the CFO that I'm going to outsource this, and I've already sold the fact of the matter that I can actually take the operational costs and extract it from my environment, right? Now what am I doing? Okay, the next question from any CFO I know is what's next, right? So if I can compress it locally, or if I can shrink it locally, or dedupe it locally, or provision it better locally, and become more efficient, and then whatever I do in the cloud, I can get a better dollar per terabyte rate because I'm using less physical space, right? All of a sudden, I'm really now having a much deeper impact on that financial budget. At the end of the day, right, it's really going to come down to finances. And we've all witnessed that curve that shows, disks doubling every 18 months, and when they double, they're the most expensive ones, but I need the capacity. Using optimization technology, you don't have to ride that wave anymore, right? You can actually stay behind the curve, wait for the expensive disk prices to fall, be able to put more data and have more capacity available to you without shelling out the money every time you turn around because they need more capacity.
So how about pricing? Everybody thinks cloud services, you think Amazon. Sure. Swipe the credit card, okay, get a monthly bill for S3 or EC2. Is DR is a little bit more complicated than that, isn't it? So what's the pricing model? How's it shaping up?
Well, so we do have a few services in our portfolio where you literally can go online to IBM.com and swipe a credit card and download, and that typically would serve, for example, a PC or laptop backup type of need. So pricing on that is going to be, as you would expect it to be, somewhere in the $5 to $10 a month, per user, per seat. DR, on the other hand, really takes the shape of how much of your infrastructure are we really talking about? It's rarely one server, right? Is it a physical or a virtual server? So that's going to change the pricing. Is it, what are your objectives in terms of recovery? Would you like a very short window of exposure, or can you tolerate 24 or 48 hours of exposure? All of those variables kind of play into both a capacity-based cost as well as there are service costs on top of that. So in the case of a declaration, in the case of a test, those tend to be more one-time charges versus ongoing rental charges.
Is that a belly-to-belly discussion that an IBM sales rep or an IBM channel partner has with the customer? So we're not at the point now where we can have that discussion in a way that's standardized across the customer base. Do you see that ever happening, where we can just sort of dial an RTO, RPO? Because people don't know what RTO and RPO is.
Correct.
Explain it to them. How much data are you willing to lose?
Right.
None.
Right.
Okay, you willing to pay $500 million? No.
Right.
Okay, that starts the conversation. I don't know how it ends.
I think, Dave, that what I'm seeing here at VMworld is we are getting closer to that non-belly-to-belly conversation, but it's going to be very workload specific. It's going to be, first in the Wintel and Lintel environments where there are fewer variables in terms of the application sitting on top of them. So we can let the users sort of self-select into some online, a little more click transaction type of DR services. But when it comes to I need to protect my enterprise, and my enterprise is Revlon or Southwest Airlines or any of these other enterprises that we've heard from, they're not doing that by just swiping a credit card. They're designing and really building resiliency into their business from the ground up.
Dave, I think what you're seeing, right, is this whole notion of RPO and RTO really just changing to a quality of service when you get to the cloud, right? So it's now no longer, what is it? It's here's what I want, how do I get it? And if I can actually get a better quality of service because I can move more data more efficiently by optimizing it in some form or fashion, now all of a sudden I've increased my QoS. And if I can do that, and we can be the leading cost-effective evangelizers of a better QoS for the user, this stuff just kind of works now. A lot of it's commodity. I've been walking the show floor. In the old days, you used to have to internet in to go see a demo through. Now this stuff, they show it up, they wheel it on the floor, it just works. So we've gotten past that hurdle. Now I want it to work better. I want it to work smarter. I want it to work more efficiently. And this is what the cloud is enabling, right?
Yeah, I think that point about quality of service is a really good one because that allows you as the cloud service provider to package things, guarantee a level of quality of service. And maybe it's not just cost plus, maybe it's value. As a buyer, I'm happy to pay that. So that's good. My last question, Steve, is can things like real-time compression actually speed recovery, or is that not the case?
No, absolutely, right. If you think about if I can actually compress, and let's just hypothetically take a 50% compression ratio, if I can move a file back to my storage over the WAN, that's 50% smaller. In theory, I get 50% better performance. So instead of moving a terabyte of data, I'm moving 500 gigabytes. If I'm moving 500 gigabytes, I can move 500 gigabytes faster than a terabyte. That becomes hugely valuable to me. And it helps me increase my quality of service, and what did I do? I added a little layer of compression, right?
All right, guys, we're out of time. Thanks very much for coming to the Cube. Brian Reagan, Steve Kenniston from IBM. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your insights. Great to have you.
Thanks.